Lord Jesus. When you hurt yourself like this, you don't want nobody if you said nothing right after. Don't even ask me if me good. Don't ask me nothing. Just make me just lay there and mourn. Look on my neck. It halfy broke. My neck must broke. Jeez and peace. And look on the bridge now. That halfy dent, you know? That half to dent. The way my skull come in contact with it, the velocity. My God, nearly broke the sound barrier. You can't even stop wink on one side. I go and go through life, look like a pirate. Arr, arr, matey. My God, somebody pray for me and come pick me up because me know something I go land on my foot like post. Me I go drop and broke my neck one more time. Jeez and peace, somebody pray for me.
Oh, you good?
No, this can't happen. Don't me tell you nothing, ask me nothing after me drop and broke my neck a second time. You're not a real friend. Don't ask me nothing. Just make me sit down here and mourn and pray. My God, and come pick up me broke up. Sure. Cross Caesar.
Yo. Can people see me? Let me know. Press 1 if you can hear me. Ooh. Oh my goodness. Okay, just a bit of fun, guys. Just a bit of fun. I caught that on Instagram. What's the brother's name? What's his name? I had it on there before. Good. Orion says 1. Joy and Ely says 1. Khalid, let me get that right. Khalid 4069 says 1. If I'm calling out your real names and you didn't intend that, let me know, because YouTube does that from time to time. Who was that? Anyway, that was just something I picked up on Instagram just before just before coming on. I watched that like 10 times. I must have watched it 10 times before I came on, just like on repeat. I just crack up. Some things crack me up, man. All right, good. We're seeing people join the chat. Peter Bagjuice, that's a great name. If ever there was a name. All right, Peter Bagjuice says that Jamaican accent wants some Scotch bonnet pepper. I don't know what that means, but I know what Scotch bonnet is definitely. But I don't know what you referred to there specifically, what the metaphor's for. Maybe some extra spice. Yo, this is gonna be a very, 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 very chill, interesting live. We have with us, I say chilled, interesting. Let me not mess that up. I have with me a very special individual. I'm gonna let him come on and introduce himself. And just before he comes on, I want to say make sure you hit the like. If you're joining me, hit the like. Get the algorithm working for us. I have wanted to do a live specifically on Kush for a long time, and because it's neglected, and we know what it's neglected for. It's neglected for its sister civilization. So I say sister, not even sister. It's progeny. It's his progeny. It's something that came postcedent. It gave birth. Kush, that's his child. Kush is Egypt is the child of Kush. Okay, but we look at Kemet all the time, and we neglect. We don't give Kush its flowers. But there's been so much. I kind of parked it for a while. I did 3 series, a series of about 3 episodes on Kush a while back. Now, what I came across, I focused on Taharka's reign, but what I came across just researching that particular video, those particular videos, I couldn't put it all in the videos. I could not fit it all in the videos. The last one, I finished it with the Van Sertima's very, very, very well backed up theory. Shout out to Camjiverse, he's been doing lots of work on this. Very, very backed up theory, well evidenced theory and thesis. No, it's not even a thesis at this point. This is fact that the Kushites, along with the Phoenicians, that you can call a sister civilization, because the Phoenicians tell you well, I'll leave that for another day. The Phoenicians tell you themselves that they come from Kush. How so? We'll talk about it another time. But they team up with the Phoenicians, and Van Sertima documents how man made it across the waves, across the Atlantic Sea, and pretty much colonized Um, Veracruz. Um, I don't want to go into that too much, but my goodness, Kush is neglected. It is heavily neglected. Right, we got 23 people in the chat, 28 straight away. Okay, this is good. Give some love, people. Give some love to my brother coming to Africa as he comes on. And I just want you coming to Africa. I'm sure you can hear me. I want you to just soak in the applause first. Give it a bit of like, do you smell what the Rock is cooking on the ropes? You know, just stick your neck out a bit and just smell the smell the adulation. Smell what the Rock is cooking. But we're smelling what Coming to Africa is cooking. Okay, we'll bring him on and just let the people know who you are. I actually no, don't let the people know who you are. Yes, let the people know who you are, but tell them first. First question: how did we meet? How are we connected? Let the people know about that. Here we go. Here we come.
Hey, what's up, everybody? I'm happy to be here. Um, how did we connect? Well, honestly, I was following you for a while. Um, I was following you, watching your videos, watching your interviews with. I think it was brother, the King's Monologue,
Mm.
and many others. And I was like, yeah, man, this is a dope brother. I see you're rising in fame right now. So, and since I'm basically semi, not really, not necessarily retired, but life has been busy. Let me say that. And but I watch you guys doing great stuff, and I was like, hey, let me show some love. Let me just talk a little bit, and yeah, we hit it up, man. We just start talking on through IG and stuff. So yeah, that's what's up.
Yeah, you I remember actually when it was you, and this is one of the great things about doing this. I've been doing this for I think 3 years now. We started in 2023.
Mm,
First video was in 2023. So yeah, this is will be coming to 3 years in March, I think.
that's dope,
Um
man.
yeah, thank you. And I came across you on the video that I did. Oh yeah, that was it. When I interviewed the great um our brother, the Black History Man,
Robin Walker, yeah, yeah,
Robin
yeah,
Walker.
yeah. I remember that one. Yeah.
Yeah, that
Hmm.
was when you first. I mean, I've seen you in the comments, and I think you were a
Yeah,
member before. Maybe that
yeah, I
was
was.
yeah. You were
I
a
was.
member before, and then in that live you came on, and I think you didn't come. I didn't share the link with you, but I
Mm,
saw you in the comments, and you were very active in the comments. Shout out to you. I think you even dropped a couple of super chats that time, not super
yeah,
chat,
man.
super chats, and yeah, I could see that you were knowledgeable, but I didn't know
Mm,
how far knowledgeable you were because very shortly after that you showed me like your research on the Kushites, and that you'd done some work on the Kushites, and that you would
yeah.
you presented me a booklet, not really a booklet, kind of like a short sort of educational kit. Can you tell us about
Hmm.
that?
Yeah. So, I mean, around that time, I just came back from a lecture with Robin Walker and other greats like Paulo Bina and Tony Browder. And Robin Walker was talking about, hey, if you got some knowledge, try to make some books, some educational package, and that's how I started, man. So I was reading on Kush, I think for a couple of 2 years, maybe 3 years now. But I kept on finding, like, how would I say it? The way people package Kush, it seems as if it's either a mysterious people, just like the ancient Egyptians, and even possibly inspired by aliens, or sorry, no, aliens made the civilization. That's what you usually get when you delve on Reddit and stuff like that. So I started making this booklet about Kush just because I wanted to show people the, I would say, the modern populations. So remove the veil of mystery, and also show people that, hey, look, man, Africans made the civilization. Just let us give respect to Kush as well, not only Kemet. And yeah, also the war in Sudan. So I had to do something. I felt compelled to do something. So yeah, that's how I started on the educational package. Bro, sorry, I can't hear you. I think you muted yourself.
Sorry
Yeah.
about that. Yeah. Um. Yes. Do you mind if I share the educational package with the people?
No, go ahead, man.
Just I don't
Go
want
ahead.
to give too much away because um I want people to actually go and support you and pay for it. But I
Yes, man.
got it a while back myself. Let's do this. Here we go. Nope, not that one. Let's go to my computer. Upload file. Here we go. I'll just show a tiny bit. Can people see that? Don't-
Let me look at the chat a little bit. Maybe I can help out.
Right. People can see that. That's just part of it.
Yeah,
That's
the one pager. Yeah,
yeah, that's the one pager. But um the brother's done research into the Kushites, not the Nubians. There's a specific difference, and maybe
definitely,
you
definitely.
can elaborate on that because I used to get them conflated, but there's a very key difference between the Kushites and the Nubians.
Hmm.
So guys, head on over to. Can you give the people the link? Either write it in the chat. Coming to Africa. So can I call you?
Yeah, sure
What
thing,
can I call you for short, or do I just refer to
bro. You can call me. You can call me coming to Africa. You can call me Fano. It's all good.
final?
Fano. Yeah.
Okay. Well, let me just stick to coming to Africa because I want people to yeah, that coming to Africa is good. So
Let
yeah,
me.
what can
Mhm.
you hit that? Put that in the chat and also just mention it to the people where people can get your resources.
Okay. Let
Let me
me.
take that off screen.
Mhm.
I'll take that off screen because some cheapskate will copy will take a screenshot and be like, I'm good to go, bro.
It's still love, but yeah, it's still love though. Yeah, yeah, you guys.
Okay. Neb Restal says Phoenicia from Kush just put key piece of our history in place for we. It won't be absolutely the excellency. Salute to the Kush history man, compelled by a force irresistible. Thank you very much for that, Neb Restal. Um, yeah,
Yeah, man.
so yeah, anyway, guys, you need to head over to what's the have you put it in the chat?
Yeah,
Because
I
I'm not
did, man. I did. I just
okay,
did. Yeah, yeah,
I,
yeah.
I can't see. It
Yeah.
says you can get it all here, but I can't see the link. Did you put that in there? Chat,
Yeah,
let me know
yeah,
if
I
you
just
guys
did.
let me know if you guys can see it, chat, because I can't see it. If it's just me, then that's fine. I'll move on.
I'm gonna refresh the screen just to be sure.
Okay.
Yeah.
Press one if you got the link in the chat, fam. Okay.
Okay, let me try
BCS
again.
Uno 919 says is that are those bows and arrows? Are they saying you got it? I don't know. Let me know. Anyway,
Yeah.
cool.
Yeah,
So
maybe later we can pin it down in the comments, man.
yes, I will
Oh,
do. I will do that. I will do that. Definitely. Okay. Okay. Let's start there. Let's start. You said something just now about Sudan. Um,
mm.
I think you said especially considering what's going on there. Can you tell people what's going on? What is going on in Sudan?
Man, my heart goes out to the people of Sudan, man. There's basically, I don't know if it's really a precise term to call it a civil war, but there's definitely some ethnic cleansing going on. Maybe even, I think even genocide, to be honest. Um, the best summary I can give right now, because I'm not Sudanese. I don't have like connection on the ground like that, you know. But from what I know is, um, a nation in the region of Arabia has sponsored some rebels in Sudan, and the rebels are destroying cities, killing people, starving people, and also smashing all of the statues of Kush. I've seen pictures, and it really breaks your heart. It breaks your heart when you see starving children, and it also will break your heart when you see like the I would say the black origins of Kush. We know it's obviously so-called black African, but when you see those images of broken statues or uh, whatnot, you will think, man, what is going on? Why are people doing this? So it's very I mean, I don't even know how to describe it, but it's chaotic, basically. Yeah, man.
Bro, it's something that breaks my heart, and
Mm,
I think I've shed a tear or two over it. In literal
definitely.
terms,
Yeah.
I have shed a tear or two over it because um there is a civil war going on right now in that country. And ancient people are suffering, and but it's not even a civil war. It's not really a civil war. It's not an organic war. Is what I mean by
Yeah.
that.
Mm,
It's a war that I think is
hmm.
being ginned up by outside forces, as it so often tends to be the case with Africa.
Indeed. Indeed, man. Indeed. That's why as for me, like when I saw it, I was like, okay, I definitely need to do something. I don't know what I can do, like because I would rather go there and help people, but I'm just one person. I was like, okay, the best thing I can do is at least create some awareness surrounding Kush and Sudan in the best way I can. So yeah.
Um, let's start with how you got involved
Mm,
with Kush. Let me explain to me
yeah.
um specifically what was your first, because we all have a backstory as to how we got involved in doing what we're doing. One of I mean, I've told my backstory. I think I've told my backstory more than once now,
Mm,
but I I remember a very long time ago, um, an incident at university where I was casually talking to some of my friends about Egypt, and I can't remember what brought up Egypt. And I remember um two good friends of mine, Caucasians, but two good friends of mine, they said, "Oh, come on, bro,
mm.
Egypt in Africa," and I was like, "What is literally
In Africa.
that statement doesn't even make any sense."
Hmm.
Now, I understood what they were saying. I understood what they were saying, but because I understood what they were saying, it was a case of I'm not even gonna go down this route, so whatever. But it stung a little because I thought to myself, how is it like a country as big and as monumental as Egypt? Like people think of it as not having literally not being. I think one of them actually believed that it wasn't in Africa. He actually believed it wasn't
Wow.
on the continent of Africa, so I had to show him. But when I did show him, it didn't really matter. There, he was still he was still taking the proverbial piss. But years later, I start to get involved in Black history, and this was the first entry point for me. I remembered. I thought, you know what, I've been doing the cool stuff. I've been doing Benin and other West African histories. But I also wanted to know what the truth was about that civilization because it would constantly come up. You know, the
Of
further and
course.
further I got into Black history, the further YouTube was and other social media, other uh, corners of the internet was pushing me into um that the algos pushed me into the corner of look at Egypt, you know. So I ended up doing it, and that was how the rest is history. What was it with you with Kush? And it could have been Egypt, I don't know, but I don't think I've specifically asked you that.
Um. So okay. So when it comes to Black history in general, I started with linguistics. Basically, the historical linguistics of my own language, which is Papiamento. Through that, you could say mentally, I went to Cape Verde Islands. From there, I think I was, let me think, 15 or 16 at that time. and I was working with a linguist because he needed my help to give him phrases of my native language, which is Papiamento. And so eventually, uh, it became Guinea-Bissau, surrounding areas, so West Africa in general. And I think when I started watching Hidden Colors, Dr. Ronoko Rashidi, Tony Browder, I, I wouldn't say I fell in love with Egypt, but I got enthused by Egypt. So I delved into the research. To me, it became more and more obvious that there were black people, but it didn't quite make sense because, like, I'm reading there were black people. At the other hand, I'm looking at documentaries on Discovery Channel, National Geographic, and they keep telling me basically they paint a mysterious picture, like I told you before, aliens, or yeah, there were black people in Egypt, but they were more like uh, not the core population, just adjacent, somewhere lost near Aswan or something.
Go on, just say it, slaves.
Yeah, basically, yeah, slaves, servants, um, anything at the bottom of the socio-economic ladder during that time. And I was like, okay, let me read about Kush, because at least at that time they were like, okay, Kush is basically Black African, so you guys can have that one, even though it's like a cheap copy of Egypt. I was like, okay, let me just check it out. And I fell in love with both Civilization, but because Kush was a bit more disrespected and a bit more mysterious in my perspective, I went deeper and deeper and deeper. And that's how I came to respect, not respect Kush. I would say I came to appreciate Kush more than Kemet, than Egypt, ancient Egypt. So that's how it began. And I think I started um, like truly with Black history in general, I would say 2015 or either 16. Yeah, bro. So just so you know, you're muted.
Sorry, because I don't want
Yeah.
any noise. I
Mm.
cough from time to time. Um, uh, 2015, 2016. That's around the time that I came into my own awareness. This is weird. Like, it was 2017, 18. So about a year
Mm.
or two after you. Okay. Um, just on that point, you said, um, you know, Egypt was presented like blacks in Egypt was presented as though, they didn't really belong here.
Yeah.
Now, I put out a post just a day or two before this live, and I said, they tried to hide Kush. They tried to something to the effect of they tried to the same thing that they do with Egypt, they tried to do it
Hmm.
with Kush. Now, the problem with Kush is that they had with Kush is there's so much. They have to do too much work. They have to go
Definitely.
back. They
Yeah.
have to go back too far
Hmm.
to change up all the stuff that they know the world knows. So they had to relinquish Kush. Like, you have scriptural text talking about Kush,
Hmm.
the Ethiopians. You have Greek texts openly talking about the Kush, or the Romans talking about the Nubians. So and they're described like
Yeah.
it's not even ambiguous. It's
Indeed.
it's so in a way that it can be. I mean, it's not really ambiguous with Kemet either, but Kush is this place that was definitely
Inner
demarcated.
Africa. Hmm.
Yes, as inner Africa. So the Greeks lazily would refer to black people in general that they saw as Ethiopian, even though they didn't necessarily come from there on the continent of
Hmm.
Africa. They could have come
Hmm.
from anywhere on the continent of Africa, but the Greeks would lazily use the denotation reputation of, oh, Ethiopian. So we all knew because of that this is a black civilization. So, but they did try. This is the audacity of it. So I had one person come in the comment on the post and say, nobody tried to take Kush, man. No, and I'm like, I think the person said nobody took Kush, and I'm like, first of all,
Mm-hmm.
I didn't reply. I didn't bother replying because you get all kinds of weirdos and trolls. But first of all, I'm thinking, I mean, where have you been? But in any case, they definitely tried. Let me play this video. Let me play this video and get your thoughts, and then
Sure.
we can move on from there. That's what I was trying to do earlier when I was muted. Let's put this up on screen because I put this extract in a video of mine, and I couldn't. I mean, the audacity of these agents, these bad actors,
Mm-hmm.
is incredible. Check this out, guys.
About 100 years ago, American archaeologist George Reisner excavated many Kush monuments and discovered the tombs of its most important kings.
George Reisner was an amazing pioneer of archaeology in Kush. He started in 1908, he worked into the 1930s, very difficult conditions, and yet he managed to establish a basic chronology, not only of the broad archaeological periods, but of all the kings of Kush. He put them all into order, and it's an order that we still basically use today.
At El Kuru, Reisner got to the bottom of every pyramid, even as he was awed by the pyramids he excavated. He refused to believe they could have been built by the ancestors of the black Africans he saw all around him. His prejudices even seem to have clouded his eyesight. In 1916, when he discovered beautiful black granite statues of the great Kushite kings, he argued they were not real likenesses. Instead, he proposed that the kings and the builders of all the Kushite monuments had actually been light-skinned foreigners.
I think it just challenges so fundamentally some of his personal views about what people in the Sudan were capable of, that he finds it really difficult to suddenly read the evidence. Such a huge challenge that he can't get over it.
Reisner's writings about the Kushites are a window into his warped racial beliefs.
Its very race appears to be a product of its poverty and its isolation. A Negroid Egyptian mixture fused together on a desert riverbank, too far away and too poor to attract a stronger and better race.
Reisner wasn't
Did you all hear that? Too poor to attract a better and stronger race. Too go look, brother, coming to Africa to elaborate,
Yeah.
talk, discuss, please, discuss. Discuss what you just
Yeah. So I was basically like gathering my thoughts, right? Okay, too poor. Okay, let's start with the phrase too poor. I'm like, okay, so all of the gold mines are in Sudan, basically. So basically the Asian territory of Kush. So how could you describe them as too poor? It's basically Western propaganda all over again, even during that time. Also, the phrase Negroid Egyptian mixture. What does that even mean? Please tell me what does that even mean? Because Egyptian is a state, it's a nation state, and Negroid, the term Negroid, the way they use it, it really depends, because usually they mean it in a West African sense. Then they mean it on a black sense, like oh, if you look like moi or like you, then you are a Negroid. At the same time, it can be so confusing. So I'm like, okay, Negro Egyptian, nonsense. I'm not even gonna entertain it. And the way they began as well. What was it? Let me check.
He said, I like the way they spoke. and they said
Mm,
these are the narrators now. So these are these contemporary narrators who are supposedly, and sorry to say, whenever we have to discuss this kind of stuff, because I said to you, I think I was saying to you or someone else anyway, I don't know, privately, that when you go in to look into our history, people, I had a comment a while back, someone, and actually I get it quite a lot. Why don't you just tell our stories? I get it from people from the community, and I get it from
mhm.
people outside the community. They say, why can't you just tell our stories?
Yeah.
Why do you have to make it about what they
Egypt.
did as well?
Or
Not Egypt, but what they did to suppress our stories. And there's it is part of the story. It's literally part of the story that in digging out Black history, there's nothing, there's
mm,
no avenue of Black history, no corner of Black history or history belonging to melanated peoples achieving something spectacular. Well, so far as spectacular is meant in the ordinary sense.
mhm.
Um, there's no corner that you can say, "Oh, look what we did," and without having someone say, "But, was it really you?"
Yeah.
So I can't tell Black stories
Mhm.
because, sorry to say, Mr. Caucasian, somewhere along the line, has besmirched this. He's made it toxic. He's made it somewhere along the lines. He's made it so that at some point I had to fight for what was patently, obviously my story and my people's story. So how can I tell
Yeah.
the story without saying, look, I had to fight for this. This that you take for granted now, I had to fight man that look like you for
Mhm.
this.
Mhm.
You took me down to the dirt, to the bits of hell,
Yeah.
just to be able to tell my story. How can I do it constantly? Brother, coming
You
to
can't.
Africa, you find me one area of Black history that we don't have to do that with constantly.
I would say, okay, in modern times, they will give us Western Africa
Mm,
in modern times, but like even during either the 70s or the 50s, we had to fight for the Yoruba civilization because
the
even
Benin,
then,
yeah,
as well, yeah, both, because they like, for instance, the wall of Irido, I think it's Irido, in it's a part of the Yoruba civilization. Um, they thought either it was Roman, the Romans came and civilized, the black people of Western Africa, or again, aliens. I mean, okay, so people had to come from other countries or from outer space to help civilize Africans because we didn't have the intellectual properties to do it, is what they think. And nowadays, I would say it's less, it's less obvious, but it's still there. It's still there. Yeah.
I agree. I agree, and it's still there because it's there in a way that I consider more insidious, more toxic. Do you know why?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Because at least back in the day, we knew we were fighting and we knew what we were fighting for.
Exactly.
Now, what we get is smiles and affirmation, but
Mm.
behind the scenes, I mean, it's an open hand with the left hand and a dagger in the right hand, because as you see in that documentary, in that extract from that documentary, what they'll do is with the same hand that they give, they take. Now, in that documentary, they they put Egypt in this box away from Kush.
Mm-hmm.
And the assumption is, well, we now know that Kush was a black civilization. It should have never been disputed.
Mm-hmm.
And in even telling us this, they paint Reisner as this person who was just
A nice guy.
misguided by his beliefs. Sorry, say what did you say?
Basically a nice guy who paved the way for the importance of Kush, but they didn't
Right.
really emphasize his racist tendencies towards the Kushite people. So yeah.
That almost robbed us. I
Hmm.
mean, the Kushites, are the people in that area, are they stupid? Of course not. They know, because of how history turned out, and they had to be the ones working for this foreigner to dig up these sites. A lot of these people know about these sites anyway. They
Of
don't
course,
want to disturb the dead. It's
their
culture.
ancestors.
They
Yeah.
don't want to disturb the ancestors. There's a massive respect for the ancestors across Africa. Across
Hmm.
Africa. So it's not a case of that these people don't know their history. In many cases, they know, but it
Hmm.
doesn't, they don't have to prove anything to you. What they need is for you to get your troops out and your neo-colonialist rubbish out of their countries.
Mm.
Anyway, back to what I'm saying. They paint this guy Reisner as this sort of misguided person who
So
just has, whereas in fact he was dedicated. This guy was a dedicated, I think he was even a
hater.
eugenicist.
He was a dedicated hater.
Yeah, a
Yeah.
dedicated hater. But when
Hmm.
they talk about these stories, they present it as though people were just misguided and people were no. These people had ideas that they wouldn't let go of. They were wicked, hateful people. To be digging up black faces, okay, in black land, in the epicenter of black ancient black civilization, and to be and supposedly to come from a Christian tradition, okay, where we know about the ancient Ethiopians from the scriptures, and to still say and look around you and say, no, it's not you. I don't believe that was just misguided. I believe if Reisner could have had his way, we wouldn't know. Today we would be debating Kush like we debate Kemet. I lie?
Not a lie. I'm just checking something up real quickly. So
Yeah,
okay, Reisner was an American. He
I
was
believe
born.
so, yeah.
He was born a few years after the abolishment of slavery, and he died approximately during the Second World War. And that means his surrounding, what's the word? He was brought up in a culture and time period where they were extremely racist,
Mm.
extremely. So it's not really very surprising. At the same time, I get it. Modern Egyptologists want to make it seem as if the fields, yes, it was racist before, but there are still good elements. So let's emphasize that and leave the bad stuff outside. But it's inseparable. You cannot separate Egyptology from its racist roots. So
And my point is, and the point we're trying to make here is that if they could do that with Kush,
mm,
they can do it anywhere. If they can do that in the heart of Africa, and they've been doing that in the heart of Africa,
mhm.
they can do it anyway. So when people come up to the comments, I don't bother anymore. Because I know that I used to I'm a very fair-minded person. I'm a very open-minded person. But I did used to defend the Caucasian man from calls of um unconscious racism. I don't anymore. I don't anymore. Why? Because it's ingrained. It's the result from what I've seen. It's the result. Even so-called well-meaning. Okay, it's it's an ingrained subconscious thing after 400, 500 years of
Mhm.
cruel, inhumane subjugation of people who were minding their own business all across the globe. They weren't trying to, they could sail, but they had their nice little sunny pieces of patches of earth and they were
So why
content to
would you?
stay there,
Yeah.
you know. But after centuries of cruelly subjugating these people and extracting and grape, we'll say graping these people, it's ingrained in the common Caucasian, this sense of I have to prove to you that
Mhm.
black people weren't always beneath or lesser than or viewed lesser than, or black people did achieve stuff. So when people come and they say, oh, you're an Afrocentrist, this is rubbish, I used to get bothered by that, but now I don't, because I know that, do you know what, that's the way it was even on the continent. to
Mm-hmm.
prove stuff that's on the continent of Africa. That's the way you guys, you people moved, you know. So I don't have to prove anything to you now. I don't have to satisfy your sense of, you know, that there's literally some random stones and bits of wood that they've used to say the Vikings made it to Greenland 100 years ago. But with the Olmec civilization, we have reams and reams and reams and reams of evidence that cannot point to anything other than Africans having sailed to that continent about at least 1,000 and you know at at the at the earliest, at the most recent,
Mm.
about a few hundred years ago, 500,
Yeah.
600 years ago. There's reams and reams of evidence of it. You know, there's eyewitness accounts, there's archaeological accounts, but we still have to talk about that like it's a conspiracy theory. So I don't care anymore. This is, if this is what they try to do with Kush, I don't care anymore.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know what you feel about that. Just someone saying sociopaths in the in the comments. I mean, it is quite sociopathic.
Bro, honestly, like they tried it with Great Zimbabwe, uh, Monomotapa, which Great Zimbabwe was a part of Monomotapa. They tried it with, I think it was the Garamantian Empire as well. They tried it with the state of Benin, um, the Yoruba civilization. So we shouldn't really be surprised. And I do understand it. Look, we generally, I would say, our people are very. Um, I don't think naive is the correct word. I think we just want people to be fair, just as we would, right? So I think that's the reason that we often feel the need to defend, even when they are being racist, because also we have been in this environment for so long that we tend to still connect with them, even though we know that we are being oppressed in different aspects of life. So it's I think the work that we're doing, bro, is basically obviously for our people globally. And if some white person can see, okay, I can see the truth in what they are speaking, feel free to support or whatever. But we are not doing this to educate Europeans or white Americans or whatnot. We're doing it for ourselves, our children, our cousins, our community. So don't get stressed over it. And but at the same time, I know it's hard because I've been in the comments as well. It's hard to keep your cool and stuff.
Yeah, it is hard.
Yeah.
It is hard. I'm gonna put I put the thumbnail for this live. I
Mm.
don't want people to think. I never want people to think I clickbait. I want to address things that
Sure.
you know,
Sure.
things that draw people to the video in the first place.
Let's go on.
And I want to share. I don't know if if you've ever seen the monument. It's called Western Dafufa, and it's in northern Sudan, where the capital of capital Kerma
Hmm.
once resided. So let me just show this article about it on the screen.
Sure.
There we go. Nope, not that. Let's just cancel. Not now. All right. Cool. Press 1 in the chat if you're enjoying this conversation. Let me know. Give me feedback, guys. And make sure you hit that like button. Okay. Let me share screen. And here we go. Right. So I did a screenshot of the article, and I'm building somewhere with this, as with most of my presentations, because I get surprised myself. Thank you JT00. Thank you BC Son, Sono 919. Everyone can people have a good grand old time. Okay, so you can all see this on the screen. I think you can. This is a
Mm-hmm.
titled an article titled it's from Archaeology Magazine, September 2020. And you can see at the top, the excavations at a city on the Nile reveal the origins of an ancient African power. Now we still know very, very little about the civilization of Kush, and part of it we've dealt with because um through no fault of the people who live there today, outside forces are have just decided to alight on that region and destroy it
Mm-hmm.
and manipulate things to just into a state of constant war. Okay. Um, whilst at the same time, the same forces will are behind these gaslighting adverts that you see for charity to help this boy in Sudan. Why don't you get your feet off his neck first?
Yeah.
Okay.
Indeed.
As the Nile slices through the barren desert of North Africa, it runs straight north, with the exception of one magnificent curve reminiscent of a giant S. This stretch of the river winds through northern Sudan, approximately 250 miles south of the Egyptian border. Known as the Great Bend of the Nile, it marks the southern boundary of Nubia, a region that stretches from Sudan into southern Egypt. So, this is going to talk about really, it's going to, in the introduction, it's going to touch on how Nubia is actually separate to Kush. Can you explain that to people, first of all, coming to Africa? Because I used to
Sure.
think Nubia was the same as Kush, and that's not
No.
anyone's fault. I don't think. I
Mm-hmm.
think it's a fault of some other people who confuse the issue.
Mm-hmm.
But can you explain to people what the difference is?
So the Kushite, okay, Kush is the name of the civilization below, let's say, Aswan. And Kush was nearly a near contemporary of Kemet. The reason people confuse Nubia and Kush is because it covers basically the same region, but Kush is older. The Nubians itself, the term Nubia is based on the Nuba people, and the Nuba people only came into Kush around, I would say, 100 BCE, before Common Era. So the so-called Nubians, or the Nuba, are actually latecomers. The Egyptians did not encounter Nubians; they encountered Kushites. And I can keep going, but yeah, let's
Who
start
gave
there.
who decided? I
Hmm.
know the answer, but I wonder if you can tell us who decided to make Nubia the name, the generic name for any sort of who first used it. Sorry, who first used it to describe just this region? Because I know the Egyptians didn't.
No, the Egyptians used the term Nehisi, and Nehisi and Nubian have been conflated. I don't recall which archaeologists start using the term Nubia.
It was the Romans. The Romans were the first, I think, outsiders to
Mm-hmm.
start referring to the region as Nubia. And they did that because you're right, it was about 100 BC when the Nuba people came in there. And that really coincides with around the time that the Romans gain hegemony.
Yeah.
And they start conquering and taking over much of the known world. And they conflated these people who had settled in Egypt's gold rich area
Mm-hmm.
and started to use that term for gold.
Yeah.
I believe I think Noob itself is ancient Egyptian also for gold.
Yeah. But it's.
So
Mm-hmm.
that's that they take the name that the Egyptians had for gold,
Mm-hmm.
um, and they impose it on the people that come from that gold producing part of southern Egypt and beyond.
Yeah. But even that is contested, actually. So
Right, is it? Okay.
yeah, there's a theory that the term Nubia is based on noob. which is the term for gold in ancient Egyptian or the Kemetic language. The other etymology is that it's based on the name of just the Nuba people, and Nuba actually in the Meroitic language means slave. Um, it's a pretty long story, but I think my theory is because the Nubians migrated or were basically invaders of the Kushite land.
Right, from
Uh,
further south.
mhm. That's why the Kushites start treating them as slaves. Basically, bro, to summary, the reason why Kush fell in a sense is the same reason as how Rome fell. Rome fell because of the invasions of the Germanic people, and for Kush, it was the Nuba people. They were a related people of similar genetic templates, but nationality wise, they were distinct peoples.
Of course.
Yeah.
Yeah, of course, of course. So people, and that's important because people are gonna, again, what the bad actors do is they use conflicts between,
Mm-hmm.
racially identical groups, and they use that to say, oh look, they were different, as if
Yeah.
France doesn't wage war. France didn't
Wait for.
Europeans went
Mm-hmm.
for hundreds and hundreds of years, and even till today, killing one another in droves. You know,
Yeah.
it's
Yeah.
it's a very ridiculous thing. But hey ho, that's part of the crap we get. And they also use that with Egypt and Kush. Oh, see, the Egyptians are fighting the Kush. A
Mm-hmm.
complete miss translation of what you can see in on the walls of Egypt. But even where that the case, even which it was, the Egyptians did constantly fight the Kushites. It doesn't mean they were separate people
It doesn't
racially.
mean it doesn't mean anything. It doesn't mean anything. I think the more research you do on ancient Egypt or Kemet and Kush, you will see both nations were multi-ethnic nations. So they contained lots of the same people within their borders. And just as today, you will have people who have families across the border who um, they have familial relationships, and but on a governmental level they will fight each other because taxes, you're invading my land, so you're taking money away from me, bro. It's basically the way people see Asian civilizations is as if they were backwards, but lots of the same problems that we have today they also had back then. They were fighting over resources, and look, this is my gold mines. I want to be in control of my gold mines, so that's why we're fighting, right? But we can still do commercial ties. That's it. That's it.
Of course, commercial ties, cultural ties, familial ties.
Mm-hmm.
These people went back and forth with each other. So, and actually, it's funny you say that because so this monument, Western Defufa,
Mm-hmm.
isn't actually even in Egypt. It's in well within the borders of Sudan today. Okay, but when we're talking about this Nubia, what they call Nubia is actually in modern day Egypt. So
Yeah,
a lot so it's almost
more or
half of
less.
modern day Egypt, that the
Mm-hmm.
region, it's almost half of modern day Egypt. So this idea, again, if you're listening to this back, this idea that black people had nothing to do with ancient Egypt, even just on that basis alone, we're not going to go into all the millions of other reasons why that's lie. It was a place that you and I would
Mm-hmm.
fit in like a hand in a glove. It wouldn't be. In fact, it's the
Definitely.
people who are masquerading as Egyptians today that would
Mm-hmm.
be that would stand out. They would completely
Yeah.
stand out in ancient Egypt. They're not on the walls at all.
Mm-hmm.
It's not pallid people you see on the walls. When you ever see a pallid person on the walls of Egypt, they're a foreigner. You see deep brown people if they've not been washed off by these fake reconstruction efforts that Zahi Hawass and crew are regularly involved in. You see deep brown people. It's not a red color; it's a deep brown color. Okay,
Mm-hmm.
before being tampered with, and or black skinned people represented as Egyptians. This isn't conspiracy theory. There are they're labeled
Yeah.
with hieroglyphics as Egyptians, Upper Egyptians. There are, anyway. So you have almost half of modern day Egypt
Mm-hmm.
being part of what would have been called in that southern band, what would have been called Nubia,
Mm-hmm.
okay, in ancient times. Now, this monument that I use as a thumbnail is older. This article goes on to tell you that it says it was the Dafufa once functioned as a temple and a religious center of a Nubian city that was founded there around 2500 BC. But
Mm-hmm.
Western Dafufa itself, if you go elsewhere, it tells you we think the earliest, the most recent that we can date that we can attribute to it is 2500. No more recent than that. So
Mm-hmm.
when I put in the thumbnail, when I put the title that this is older than the Sphinx, go check that out. The Sphinx is supposed to have been erected around the same time, but
Mm.
Western Dafufa is in the
Older.
least equal in age to the Sphinx. I
Yeah.
would go so far as to say, knowing their pattern for suppressing and sort of denigrating stuff that comes from inner Africa, properly continental Africa, I would go so far as to say, no, going by that pattern, it's probably older. You can almost put your house on it that it's older than the Sphinx.
It's very likely, man. It's I would say it's very likely. Um, and also multiple things were happening in Africa during this time. I can at least give you one example of what was happening around the same time on in Western Africa. Um,
Talk to me.
so have you ever heard of the Wagadu Empire or the Wagadu Kingdom, the ancient Ghana?
Yes, yes, I,
Okay.
I've, I have.
So before the political forming of that state, there was a culture called the Wagadu culture, or sorry, the Dar-Tichit culture, and the Dar-Tichit culture started in around 2200 BCE, 2200 BCE. So it's basically the same time. The only reason that it gets less love than Kush and Kemet is because it's seen as just a culture, not a civilization, even though they had like uh, um, encircled. Let me say if I'm saying this correct. They had villages with stone walls, and it encircled the villages and granaries and everything. So it depends. They will say it was just a culture, and Kush and Kemet were true civilizations. But yeah, multiple things were happening at the same time.
Bro, people can go and look it up. The oldest stone circle in the world, certainly in Africa.
Mm.
Stone circles like Stonehenge, right?
Hmm.
The oldest is not just in Africa, not just in Egypt, but in I think it's a place called Nabata Playa, and it's in the Nubia
Not the
region of
playa. Yeah.
Egypt.
Hmm.
It's the Nubia region of Egypt. So this idea that this civilization, this sister civilization Egypt, this idea that it had nothing to do with black people, if you watch the history of Egypt, it evidently came from from up the Nile
Hmm.
downwards. Evidently, that's the way civilizations, particularly ancient civilizations, tended to develop. They
Mm.
followed the river downstream. So
Exactly.
the people didn't come from, and this is something that you're constantly having to reaffirm, because whenever they do the genetic tests, you notice they're always trying to play up an influence of some Syrian gene or some these DNA, these massive DNA papers that come out. They never look to where the archaeological evidence constantly points to, Badarian culture, Nakada culture, the
Mm.
civilization, all of these cultures pointing to inner Africa, people moving from deep within Africa outwards. They never do that. What they always do, again, and this is why this thing that we're all doing, where we're all pretending that we're all
Mhm.
woke now and nobody's after anybody's history, and these academics are all neutral. This is why it's fake. Because you don't make a paper, genetic paper, to prove to help elucidate on the origin of the Egyptians, and
Mhm.
when you come out with your results, play up a microcosm that points to outside influence coming into Egypt. That's always the theme. You don't do that unless you have an agenda to rob
Mhm.
Africans of what we know is evident from the archaeological record that this is their history, this is their story. You don't do that unless you have an agenda to rob us of stuff. But anyway, my point being that we all know that this civilization came from Inner Africa. The
Mm-hmm.
Greeks wrote about it. Diodorus Siculus wrote about it. He said the Ethiopians gave them everything. The Ethiopians is accepted knowledge in these parts that the Egyptians came from the Ethiopians. Everybody talks about it, but you know, it's just something that we have to argue about. And we were talking about, I think I went on that rant because of the stone circles, but and then I went on that rant because of something you said, which I can't remember now.
Yeah, no worries, bro. Let me help you out a little bit.
Go on.
So okay. Firstly, when we read like sources from Herodotus, Homer, which is more mythical, or Diodorus Siculus, um, we have to deconstruct the terms they were using, because you must almost always think in primary and secondary meanings of words, right? So, for instance, when they say the ancient Egyptians derived their culture from the Ethiopians, it doesn't necessarily mean the Kushites. Remember, the Kushite state got formed around 2500 BCE, right? But before that, there was already a culture, not necessarily the state of Kush, but the culture of Kush. So I suppose what they meant by that is obviously Black African people, because that's what Ethiopian also mean. The sunburned people came from down the rivers, but also from the Western Sahara. So it was a coalition that basically formed Kush and Kemet. And the core populations, obviously they had like differing um, what's the word? So let me think, cause wow,
Ethnicities.
not ethnicities. Let Okay, for instance, just an example. Let's say the ancient Egyptian state had 60% Beja people, while the Kushite had 20% of the same people. So in varying degrees, same core populations, but in varying degrees. That's how you. It helps when you think about it that way, instead of just thinking, oh, Ethiopian means Kushites, so the Kushites gave them. Yeah, the Kushites in the sense of the culture, not the state itself. Do you catch my drift?
Definitely.
Mm,
Definitely.
cool.
This press one, chat. Press one, because I get what you're saying there. Press one if you understand, if that came through. Whilst you guys do that,
Yeah.
I want to show you something more. So this article talks about below the Jafufa. This is something interesting I found about this article. Thank you, Joy and Neely. Below the Jafufa, archaeologist Charles Bonnet of the University of Geneva has spent 5 decades excavating Kerma and its necropolis. Much of what scholars know of early Nubian history comes from, thank you, Jeffrey, comes from ancient Egyptian sources. And for a time, some people believe Kerma was simply an Egyptian colonial outpost.
Hmm.
The pharaoh Tutmosis the first did indeed invade Nubia, and his successors ruled there for centuries, just as later Nubian kings invaded and held Egypt during the 25th dynasty. No, it wasn't just the 25th dynasty, love.
I
Sorry.
would like to correct them, but yeah,
Thank you.
let's go ahead.
Go on. Correct. This is about you. This is about us,
S-
not them, not
s-
their rubbish. Go on.
so firstly, I would say, okay, where they're using Nubian kings, they should say Kushite kings.
Thank you.
And if you go just a bit more upwards,
Here.
no, upwards, a bit more. Um, oh, I think I have a slight delay here.
Yeah,
Okay,
here. Was it here?
wait. Um, no.
Was it
Oh,
something you saw earlier?
yeah, basically. Okay, no problem. So basically, everywhere where you see Nubia and Nubians, you must translate that to Kush and the Kushites. Remember, the Nuba only came around 100 BCE. these are not Nubians. Archaeologists usually use the term Nubia very loosely. For them, it just means southern people. But for us, it doesn't mean anything, because if you truly want to understand the history, and if you want to understand the ethnic makeup of the region that you're reading about, the term Nubia doesn't describe anything. It's basically an empty term at this time. At this time,
More
and
more
Mhm.
aptly, you more aptly, you would just be talking about Upper Egyptians, wouldn't you?
If you're using the term Nubia, you would
Yeah,
say.
well, if it in the time that they're talking about, when and they, keep using this anachronism, this malapropism,
Hmm.
when they keep saying
Hmm.
Nubia, in the time that they're talking about, you've not got Nubians, you've got basically Upper Egyptians
I would even call them actually pre-Nubians. I've seen this term before,
or
pre-Nubians
Kushites, actual
or
Kushites.
Kushites. So from the same people that formed the culture of, or sorry, the state of Kush.
Mm.
Yes, in that sense. Let's always think of ancient Egypt and Kush as political states, because there's no ancient Egyptian in us, in like there's no ancient Egyptian DNA. It's not a monolith. Same goes for
Precisely,
Kush.
precisely. I get that.
Yeah.
I get that. Um, this statue that you can see, it calls it a broken granite bust, above left of the Middle Kingdom of Egyptian governor Jefai Happy, and a statue above right of his wife Lady Sanui were both unearthed in Kerma by the Egyptologist George Rice in 1913. Now, this lady, we don't have anything of the husband. It's been completely knocked off.
Mm.
I hasten to add that I believe that that has been done not in antiquity, but recently, and I have my theory as to why that's been done. I believe that the head, the top half of this, is probably in someone's collection somewhere, and I think that one hasn't made it because um his features look more decidedly African. What you have to remember, and this isn't a conspiracy theory, I'm about to prove it. What you have to remember, again, these two statues of an Egyptian governor and his wife were found in Kerma, okay, in some tombs in a royal chief or king's tomb, okay, in Kush. Now, I'm convinced that the only reason the wife survived is because she looks European. But what
Yeah.
they're hoping is that people don't travel. But
Hmm.
people have traveled. People know that all along that belt, all along Africa, people don't all look like some, you know, blackface parody.
Weird to repeat. Yeah,
We
exactly.
are
Yeah.
different.
Yeah.
We
Yeah.
are all black
Yeah.
and we all have different features. Some of us, it is the mother continent, guys. You will get it's not called the most genetically diverse continent in the world for no reason.
Hmm.
And that's before the newcomers came in, the Turkic Ottomans in the north, occupying the north of the country. Now it was the most genetically diverse, and it is the most genetically diverse. So you will
Still
get.
say.
Let me just show people. This is her up close. She
Hmm.
survived it. She survived it. This is another in situ photograph. You will get, just like you see this lady in the top right, Nubians that look like this. Modern. This
Yeah.
is a woman from that region. They look just like this. They have a straightish nose, not so much of a depressed nose ridge as other Africans, of Africans living more to the interior of Africa. And again, their prognathism is not as pronounced, but it's still present.
Hmm.
Dolichocephaly is still there, but it's not as pronounced. Okay, so we have Africans in the millions that look like this, black people that look like this,
Indeed.
but because the statue of her husband didn't make the grade, I believe we will never see it. We will never see it. and that's why I believe you even have these. Actually, I'm digressing. This is this is
Yeah.
this is a fraud. Check
Mhm.
out my video on Nefertiti. I've proven, as of many of us before me, proven that this is a fraud. Yet it's still. Someone even said today, I think someone said that it's I saw a comment on that video saying that it looks like something you can buy in a shop. It doesn't look. There's nothing ancient about this. This is her husband, supposedly found in the same place. Now, I believe that this is original. This is Akhenaten. Now, ask yourself, why is Akhenaten's face the way it is?
Mhm.
And this fake, okay, let's imagine that it is let's pretend it's real. Why has it survived? I put it to you that where you see more Africoid features, they get damaged.
Mhm.
They get damaged. And you can see that clearly in Akhenaten. And there are other reliefs of him that you can see. You can see his lips, you can see his nose. That's not going to survive. This is
Bro,
an authentic statue. Go on, bro.
so going back to the previous image about the queen, right?
Yeah, let me go.
Um, most people will say, yeah, this is Afrocentric propaganda, that
Thank you.
that this is basically a fake statue or whatever. I remember in the beginning of this year, no, let me be correct. I think it was either December or November. I remember I walked into a supermarket, and mind you, I live in the Netherlands. I didn't say that in my introduction, but I live in the Netherlands. So I walked into supermarkets and I saw some magazines, and on the front page there was a very in very big letters saying, "Is this a fake statue of this and this queen?" Uh, it was the magazine was something about archaeology or National Geographic. So they were basically saying that for years experts have been contesting this because they were not sure if this is a real or fake statue. The same thing that so-called Afrocentrics were saying for years, but now it's a contemporary modern a magazine that's highlighting this, and you will see that at that when it's your centric magazines, people will take it seriously, even though they were even though they are saying the same thing that our forebears were saying. So I think that's hilarious. Actually, it's very funny to see how.
It's
Yeah,
very funny, and this is actually topical because I've got my most recent video, the one on ISO speed exposing inadvertently the
remind me again. What's the name of the statue? Let me see if I can find
this
the
is
cover.
Nefertiti.
Nefertiti, right?
Nefertiti's bust.
Okay.
Yeah. So was it this bust that it was being spoken of? Was it something
Yes.
else? It was
No,
this
no.
bust.
It's the same one. Same one.
Right, right.
It's the
But
same one.
Dr. Manu Ampim exposes
Mm.
that's his life's work, and I thank God that that's his life's work because he is an accredited. He's a bona fides Egyptologist. He doesn't call himself an Egyptologist, but by mainstream, terminology, he's an Egyptologist. More so, actually, a
Found it.
kushologist.
Sorry, bro. I found the cover. Can I share it somewhere? Is that possible?
Yeah, yeah. If you look on your dashboard and you have options to present to screen, when you hit present, it will give you a few options and you should see it
Mm,
on your options, and then I'll allow you for it
let
to
me
come
see.
through.
Okay, let me see if I share screen.
Make sure there are no personal details on your
No, nothing weird or anything. So
cool.
let's see. Here it is. Can you?
Okay, yeah, I can see it. Oh no, is it there? No, okay, cool. I'll add it to stage. Yep, I can see that.
Can you see it?
Yeah, let's put that on stage. Add to stage. Come on, man. It's just loading. Let me remove this. Okay, there we go.
Yeah, it's in Dutch, so I can translate it. It's basically saying on the right side, false. What's not correct about her? Nefertiti. After 3,300 years, This bust of Nefertiti has been found basically intact, but she's missing one eye. And let's see, it's hosted in the Museum of Berlin, and they're basically saying, oh, okay, this she doesn't look right, and they're doing a research on her. But yeah, we've been saying this for ages now. For
There are
yeah,
Caucasian Egyptologists who have said this. They've written
hmm
books about it and said this is clearly, obviously a fraud.
yeah, yeah. Let me stop it now. Yeah,
Um, Thank you, bro. The
you're
reason I'm
welcome.
bringing this up, is we'll go back to Kush in a minute. There
Yeah,
is a method to my madness. This is Akhenaten. This
yeah.
is a, this is her husband. This is Senusret the first. Um, this is another just slightly different. Now, what do you notice about Senusret's hair? Okay, let me just zoom in so that people can see that.
No, I can't see it yet.
You can't see it.
Not yet. Maybe there's a slight delay.
Oh, sorry, my bad, my bad. Sorry, me at that stage. Okay, cool.
Oh yeah, I love that woman. One of my favorite statues. Yeah,
Right.
yeah.
This is Sinusret. Oh, sorry, that was Akhenaten. This is
Yeah.
Sinusret. And again, you can see the shape that it's in. You can particularly see that somebody's tried to do something to the nose.
hmm
Once again, somebody, for whatever reason, this statue survived. Okay. But somebody has clearly tried to do something to the nose there. I don't know what I can't do anything to convince you that this is an African face. If you want to be stupid about it, fine, go ahead.
hmm
But this is an African's face. This is a black man's face. Now, keep going. Now, guys, check out my most recent video. I Shall Speed Exposes Egypt, the fake Egyptian statues. It's an hour long in which we go into detail with the eminent Professor Dr. Manu Ampim. He didn't touch on this statue that you can see on your screen. Okay, he didn't touch on this statue, but he touches many of, you'll have seen them before, many of the famous statues of ancient Egypt that are not typically held up as typical Egyptian, and he destroys them. He shows you, by the time you finish watching that video, you have your, if you've not seen it yet, you have your mouth wide open as to the levels of hate that really exists in this world. This
Yeah.
statue, I'm convinced, is a fake. I'm convinced it's a fake because, once again, what survived about it, it's in pristine condition. It's in pristine condition,
hmm
and kind of like the Nefertiti bust, notwithstanding its eye. But
hmm
again, a nose that looks decidedly European and features that look passable, very passable for European, is untouched. Now, I've often said this before. When we were in the British Museum, I've been there a couple of times and with my wife. One thing I pointed out was, what's more, what's one of the excuses they give for why the noses are knocked off. They can't get their story straight, but one of the excuses they give is, well, the nose is a very easy place to get damaged when it's being moved around. Okay, fine, but if a nose sticks out more, which is a la the European nose, that's infinitely easier when you're transporting it around to get knocked over. That's infinitely easier a target for, rough and tumble. It's the first. Our noses don't stick out like that. Our noses are fleshy, bulbous, whatever. Okay, so you have noses that are fleshy, bulbous, and lips. Okay, fleshy, bulbous, constantly being knocked out, being destroyed and defaced. Yet somehow a nose that is more promontory, is more of a promontory in its design, in its creation, whatever you want to say, always escapes accidental damage. How is that? Do you get what I'm saying, brother? Coming to
hmm
Africa.
Yeah,
How is
yeah, yeah,
that?
definitely,
How is that? Go on. I don't know if you want to add anything to that.
bro. No, not really, not really. Look, when it comes to the noses, I try to suspend my disbelief because I do think there's like some sort of, there's something going on. I can't
Mm,
really I can't really tell you exactly what's going on. Maybe they
mm,
are really breaking their nose.
mm,
Maybe somehow the nose is truly fall off because it's the
mm,
weakest point. I don't buy it, but okay,
mm,
sure, sure.
mm,
Um, but I'm like, okay, forget the noses.
mm,
I bet we can still use other stuff to truly show that these people are African.
mhm,
So for me, I'm like, okay, maybe they are breaking their noses, maybe not. But if we use the culture, the
yes.
the, the combs, we tend to use different combs than European or Syrian type people.
Mhm.
So yeah, yeah,
Cool.
man.
Right. This that you're looking at is Sebekhim Saf the First. Okay. This is as it stands in the British Museum. Other people have pointed to this. I'm not the first to note this.
Mm,
This was brought to my attention by a friend. I consider him a friend right now. He's in our group on Instagram, and he brought it to my attention. He says, "Guess what? This statue, the damage that's been done to this statue was recent. It's not actually ancient
mm,
iconoclasm. It's not something that was done because, as they say, one of the other excuses is, oh, in ancient times they knocked off the noses because they believed it helped the spirit of the pharaoh in the afterlife, and someone came along and wanted to kill the pharaoh in the afterlife. Nowhere is that written in any Egyptian text
mm.
anywhere. But okay, let's ride with it. How come same statue, different angle, same statue? This is this statue when
Yeah,
it arrived
I'm
at the
seeing this
British.
one.
It's the same
Hmm.
statue when it arrived in the British Museum. Fleshy Nubian nose,
Looks
um,
amazing.
and you can. So this was done. I think this is from 19. When I saw this, I was like, there you go, there you go, there you go. So somebody, okay, these things are ridiculously heavy.
Yeah.
Tons. We're talking tons. So you're not. This isn't something that's been blown over by the wind. Okay, okay. Let's keep going. I'm going somewhere with this. So in the original article talking about Western Dafufu, the Kushites, the Kushite site in Kerma. One thing that if you read that article, archaeology magazine, if you read that article,
Mhm.
there's a mystery posed around how did these statues of Egyptian officials end up in Kerma in Kush. Now, if you know that this is Black history, that would be like asking that would be like it's couched as this unfathomable mystery. Okay, but that would be like
Yeah.
asking, making it making a mystery out of how a Welsh king statue or Scottish king statue ended up
It's in England.
in England.
Yeah.
That's tantamount to that. And I can prove that. I can prove how ridiculous their question is when you find out that in that article again, if you don't believe me, you can look up the article yourself. You find out that the statue was of an official, a powerful Egyptian official, during the reign in the middle period, during the reign of, I believe, this fellow. No, not this fellow, Senusret the First. Now, Senusret the First is the son of Amenemhat the First. Amenemhat the First, as you can see on my screen, Amenemhat the First was not of royal lineage, born to Senusret and Nefert, who were possibly related to the nomarchial family of Elephantine.
Mm.
Chat, look up Elephantine. Elephantine is Aswan is Nubia territory. In ancient times, the archaeology has shown that this is, you can debate the rest of Egypt, but the stuff that comes out of Elephantine is regularly shown to be, you know, depicting Black African people. Okay, this
Logically.
is sorry, go on.
Logically.
Right. The composition of some literary works, the prophecy of Nefertiti, the instruction of Amenemhat, and in architecture, the reversion to pyramid-style complexes of the Sixth Dynasty rulers are often considered to have been attempts at legitimizing his rule. Texts from the same period mention his mother being from Upper Egyptian nome Tarseti. Tarseti, again, is right there. That's called
Hmm.
that's I believe that translates to land of the bow, right?
Land of the shooters, right? Remember?
Land of the shooters. Thank you. The
Yeah.
Medjay archers, who we all know, even the haters can't dispute, they were blacks. They were Nubians. Okay. So we have text from the period saying Amenemhat the first, okay, this founder of this dynasty, I believe, is um somebody whose family hail from Nubia. Texts talk about it. In fact, the prophecy of Neferti points to the fact that around this time, well, whenever Egypt is in trouble, saviors always come and will always come from the south, from Nubia, quote unquote. Okay, so but what they've done in that article, and this is to take it back to Kush, what they've done in the article is to pose this like this surprise that this statue could possibly have found itself in Kerma. Well, if the individual who it represents is
Hmm.
operating, okay, under in a dynasty, under at the behest of a dynasty started by a Nubian, quote unquote, we say Nubian,
Hmm.
but someone from
Hmm.
the Kush region, bleeding
Hmm.
down into Kush anyway. Why
Hmm.
is that surprise? Why has nobody conjectured the very logical conjecture that possibly this man was related or had his roots, properly speaking, in terms of citizenship, had his roots in Kush. Nobody
Well
suggested
said.
that.
Well said. Yeah. Well said, man.
This is what we're dealing with, and that took me about 5 minutes to work
Yeah.
out. You have an official operating at the time of a dynasty started by Nubians, a Nubian man, okay, a Nubian pharaoh, Nubian dynasty. Okay, so not we don't have to wait till the 25th dynasty, okay, and you're asking, how did this statue end up in Kerma? How what could have possibly been the connection?
To say it more concisely, I would say, okay, so basically, many scholars are arguing that his mother was from the kingdom of Kush, so you could say biologically Kushite and politically Kushite, while also at the same time the people around Aswan and Elephantine were Kushites culturally, but not in nationality. In nationality, they were Egyptians. Remember,
Mm,
again, I'm gonna
mm,
keep saying it.
mm,
Egypt, sorry, Kemet and Kush were multi ethnic nations, and by multi ethnic I mean African multi ethnic. There were no Nordic peoples in Kush or Egypt. I'm talking true black so-called Negro peoples in both nations. Yeah.
it's incredible. So to get back to Kush,
Mm.
we have Western Dufufu, which is um and thank you for that. Thank you for that.
You're welcome, bro.
Because that does put it far more concise and far more straight to the point. And it does it because you've overridden this their rubbish, their obfuscation
Mm.
and all the kind of the cluster we have to get through. So yes, right. Um I want to ask you a question, and
Go ahead.
one of the things that I consider that I want you to uh
Make less
kind of
complicated, I hope.
give me
Yeah.
your opinion on is it right? Would it be right to say that Kush was in many respects superior to Egypt in its civilization?
When
Or
it
am I
co-
off base there?
no, I would say when it comes to um, how am I gonna say this? Um, from a military standpoint, the army of Kush had more, I would say, more skills. Those that necessarily translate to stronger at times, sometimes, but I would say they were. Remember, there were archers, Kushite archers, in the army of Xerxes when he fought against the Greek states. There were mercenaries, and the archers of Kush were so renowned that people wanted to hire them, and they did. So, what does that tell you? They didn't hire Egyptian archers. So make I would say make your own conclusion.
So in many respects, so okay, so then um, why does Kush get dominated so often by the Egyptians? At least that's the perception.
Gotcha. Okay, so if you read the sources and also if you look at the geography of the Nile River, you will see that the Nile River that lies within the borders of modern Egypt, it gives you, I would say, not. I don't know how to really translate this, but it helps you gain a bigger population. It can sustain a bigger population um, down the river, so lower Nile River.
Mm.
Uh, but in the middle Nile River, which the Kush civilization was centered on, you had many rocky parts. So you couldn't have like a big population stretch along the middle Nile area. So it was a bit more dispersed. Does that make sense?
Yes,
Mm.
yes. So you've got a place that in Egypt that kind of supports more concentrated non basically more people,
Yeah.
and with more people concentrated in a particular region comes like you can muster your resources and your manpower far more easy, Leah.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Right. Huh.
Exactly. And I would say like, okay, so obviously the 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 culture of bowmen were also in Egypt, but it was limited to a certain area, constricted to a certain area. Whilst in Kush, basically everybody was archers. So you could say, yeah, the Egyptians dominated because of their bigger numbers, but skills wise, you could argue that the Kushites were better because, again, they were hired to be mercenaries in other people's armies.
Hmm. So tell us a little bit. That does make sense. Um I didn't expect you to actually have such a good answer there, because I've often wondered about that question, but that does
Mm.
make a heck of a lot of sense. And I suppose I think I think it's also been simplified. I don't think, like we've just been discussing, if you've
Mm.
got a king that's coming uh ethnically, culturally, from Kush, and if you have several times in their history kings coming from the south, certainly from the Kush region, and ascending to the throne in Egypt,
Mm.
um, I guess I guess the Egyptians, who's then the colonists, if you get what I'm trying to say. Who's the colonizer if it's not the Kushites, who are constantly having people from their area come up and sit on the throne of Egypt. Do you get what I'm trying to say?
Honestly, I wouldn't call anyone colonizer actually
Mm,
because they were sibling civilizations. Again,
mm, mm,
they had the same core populations, but in different degrees.
mm.
And certainly, in Egypt, maybe you had uh, also other ethnic groups that weren't available in Kush, and vice versa.
Yeah,
But
yeah,
at the same time, what does that really tell you? Just
yeah.
that they shared a common culture, and also they diverge because of uh, um, their location based on the Nile. The other ethnic groups that were either available in Kush and not in Egypt, and vice versa, and other influences. That's
Bro,
all.
have you seen the famous in within our community? Have
Mm.
you seen the frieze that shows the Elamites? They're supposedly
No, I don't
Elamites.
recall. I
You don't
don't
recall?
recall. No.
They look Persian, but they're black. Have you
Okay.
seen it?
I
Okay, okay.
maybe
I,
maybe.
I was gonna present it, but let me leave that to one side, seeing as you've not seen it. But there's this frieze, and it shows three men.
Mm-hmm.
It's Babylonian or Persian. I think it's Persian, and it shows three black men
Mm-hmm.
dressed in Babylonian attire. Sorry, Persian attire with bows and arrows. Chat, help me out. Press one if you've seen what I'm talking about. Press one if you've seen what I'm talking about. Follow it up with a two if you want me to present it up on screen. Yeah, just let me know if people know what I'm talking about. Anyway, I've often wondered about that freeze. I've often wondered whether we're talking about Kushites
Mm-hmm.
dressed in, because we know the Kushites were famed for their archery. I've often wondered whether that's Kushite mercenaries dressed in Babylonian attire, or whether it's just a black contingent, whether it's the Elamites, whether even the Elamites were black. Now I have my own
Mm-hmm.
opinion. I
Mm-hmm.
do believe those two things are true,
Mm-hmm.
but I don't know what we're looking at when we look at that freeze.
I get it.
But
Yeah.
let me see if I can get that up. But go on.
Sure thing. I mean, it both can be true, right? That the Elamites, I would say, because I'm not an expert of the Elamites, so but we could argue that there were certainly black elements among the Elamites, and also that the Persians um, hired Kushite archers.
Yes,
Both
they
can be
did.
true, right?
They did. Whilst I get that up, let me ask you this.
Yeah.
So my first I think it was my first real entry into the Kushite civilization. That's the 25th dynasty. Let's talk about the 25th dynasty for a minute.
Okay.
Have you done anything major looking into the 25th dynasty?
Um, no, not exactly, because I think it's pretty well known. Because if you really want to look at Kush, most people will only center it along the kings of Napata, basically the 25th dynasty.
Mm.
But I did come across certain things that were, I would say, very interesting. Very interesting. So
Go on,
for ex-
talk to me. Talk to me.
so
Go on.
so for example, like on the one pager that I made, you have she's not a queen, but she's a part of the uh, aristocracy
Mm.
of lower Egypt, lower Kemet. At the time that the kings from Napata tried to culturally reestablish Kemet again, because I want to be very precise with that.
Mm-hmm.
Um, there were so-called Libyans. Now, Libyans actually mean people from the western side of the Nile. And if you look at her, so I'm talking right now about Lady Takushet is um, how her name is spelled. It's funny because archaeologists or Egyptologists will say um, she carries so her name. Listen to her name, Takushet. They call her a Kushite, but she's not a Kushite. She
Mm.
doesn't belong to the state of Kush. And the
Mm.
reason they called her that is because during that time, the Kushites were in Egypt, and she looked like the Kushite. So they were like, Takushet, Kushite, because she belongs to the state of Kush. So something to that effect. Um, while her father held the title of the Great Chief of Ma, which in modern times we will call them an Amazigh lineage, Amazigh family. But if you look at her, she looks Kushite. Let me see
How
if
did
I
you say
can.
that? Do you mean when you say Amazigh, you mean the Amazighs, right?
Yeah,
Right.
exactly, exactly. Let me see if I can. No, um, I do have some pictures of her. Let me see. I thought that was funny. They basically hypothesized that the reason she had that strange name, so the Kushite, was because she married someone from the Napatan
Mm.
elite,
Mm.
but there's no evidence for that.
Mm.
And even if she married, it doesn't describe why she looked so-called inner African.
Okay, so
You
you're
get what
looking
I'm
for
saying?
that. I get exactly what you're saying. Whilst you see if you can find that for us at some
Mm-hmm.
point. But let me show you this. I've written down to remind you. So, but just let me prevail on you. This is the image I was talking about. Let's see up there. Nope, that's not that one. Come on, man.
Yeah, it can be a drag finding pictures and stuff.
Well, I found it. It's just now I'm just trying to show it.
Uh,
Can you see this on your screen?
yeah, I've seen this before.
Right. There's glare on the guy on the left hand side, but you can clearly see
Mm-hmm.
that this isn't even red at this point. So you can see that these folks are black people. This is the one I'm talking about. So you can see them with their quivers and their
Mm-hmm.
bows and their spears. Now they don't know because I've seen this labeled in different places, either as Persian, some places I've seen it labeled as Elamites. I think originally it was postulated that they were Elamites. But I just wanted to know whether what you thought, whether we're looking at Kushite um, mercenaries dressed, in the Persian garb back then. So anyway. That's chat. That's what I've been talking about. Let me know if you've seen that,
Gotcha.
guys, before. Shout out to London. I don't know if you've seen this London before. Um, this particular image, but this first time I saw this, it blew my mind. But I also saw in the comment section underneath it, some people said it was fake. Some people said
Fake.
it's fake.
Wow. Why? Why is it fake? What
Oh,
was the argument?
it said it's
Pe-
fake straight away.
People are weird, man. Some people are weird. Truly. Um. Okay. So my opinion on this is okay. So what time period are we talking about?
I I think it's around the time that was it Xerxes or Cambyses?
Okay. Let me
So known to the
check
Greeks as
something.
Cambyses, but I think it's I
Xerxes.
don't know who that is. I get them confused. But this is around the time of, I believe, the invasion into. I'll
Cambyses.
be honest. I don't know. I don't know.
Okay. Okay. No worries, bro.
I mean,
Bro, we gotta admit. So we are doing research on deep history, and sometimes.
excuse me. Sorry. So
Oh yeah.
I found the answer.
Mm,
Sorry. Persian archers dressed in excavated from the palace of Darius, 510 BC, Susa, Iran.
510 BC. Okay.
That would be after
Okay.
the Kushites
Okay.
fell. The 25th dynasty fell the
Mm-hmm.
Persians.
Okay. Okay.
Sorry, the Assyrians. The Assyrians.
Okay. Invasion of Mrs. Peloponnesian War. No. Battle of. 1 second, bro.
No problem. No problem. Chat, hit the like, please hit the like. I think we've hit above 70, and last I checked, it was still only 57 likes. Come on, man. Unless you're sneaky wheeler dealer type.
Okay.
Okay, good. It's 70. We're at 70.
I
That's good stuff.
I think we're talking about like in a time period approximately 100 years because the battle of Thermopylae, which is
Mm,
basically when the Persian Empire tried to invade Sparta. Remember the movie Sparta 300?
yeah.
Yeah, so there were Ethiopian archers amongst them.
Yeah.
And from what I recall, it was Herodotus that described the army. And by the way of the description, the Kushites were dressed in their own national costume, their own national clothes. Based on that, I would say that these are likely to be um Elamites and not Kushites, because if they were Kushites, what's the reason for them to wear these dresses if, according to Herodotus, during the battle of invading basically the Greek state, they were dressing in their own national clothing. You You get what I'm saying?
Of course, of
Yeah.
course. Yeah, that's one way of knocking that out the park. Yeah, that I do remember the extract you're talking about. The bit that comes to mind, that stuck to my mind when Herodotus was talking about this, was he talked about the Western
Eastern.
Ethiopians and the Eastern Ethiopians in
Hmm.
that army, and I remember that I remember that very clearly. Okay, so let's go back to the 25th dynasty. The
Hmm.
25th dynasty, how powerful was it? How, because I think we sleep on that dynasty, and I've not confirmed. Okay,
Hmm.
I have my beliefs. Um, I I believe there's enough evidence. Okay, to go as far as what I want to go, but I want to know your opinion. How powerful and how big was it?
So the Kushite Empire at its highest, you mean?
Yes, thank you. At its highest.
Man. So we can definitely say it included more than time Egypt, Israel, Syria, and likely more because there are, I would say, scattered evidences that prove that the Kushites were also on the Western Sahara, and possibly even, um, let me think if I'm saying this correctly. Um, okay, so they also went into the Western Desert. Some people postulate even parts of Europe as well, but I would say the Western Desert. So from the Western Desert, modern Sudan, modern Egypt, Israel, Syria, Lebanon, around that area. So pretty large, actually, pretty large.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you. Now, with the exception of, you say Syria. Why did you say Syria? Is there evidence of that? Because I want to disagree with you there. I didn't think that it stretched into Syria, because Syria would have been what, the Assyrians.
Um.
I only say
Okay.
that because I know that at the time. So when you say at its peak, are you talking about the same as me as the 25th dynasty, right?
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay. But I think at that time, I mean, I can see where you would be coming from, but I think at that time, they were stopped by the Assyrians from going any further northeast. Just
Hmm.
because we have enough textual evidence and archaeological evidence suggesting that. I asked the question, more to my point. I asked the question because I'm glad you said the Western Desert.
Hmm.
It is There's ample evidence, there's textual evidence that this empire spread all across um today, what areas that we call Libya, and even all the way to Morocco.
Hmm. Yeah.
And I say that because I don't know if you've seen the texts, but there are texts, near ancient texts that speak Roman texts, although you can't get them in one complete body, they're fragmented,
Mm.
that speak of the Kushites going as far as Morocco and even into Spain.
Yeah. I recall reading this from Robin Walker. I don't quite remember which work it was, which book it was, but I do recall that. And also, so coming back to Syria, right? It doesn't necessarily mean all of the state of Syria, even if it's, for example, just a small strip of Syria. It is still Syria, right? So
Mm,
that's why I mentioned it.
mm.
But yeah, it was extremely large. I think Robin Walker called it at that time the biggest empire the world had ever seen, and even King, I think it was Taharka, called himself emperor of the world.
Bro, you need
Yeah.
to stop. You need to stop. The
Yeah.
biggest empire the world had ever seen. But
Hmm.
that flies in the face of everything we've been told. We've been told that, at least at that time, the biggest empire the world had ever seen
Hmm.
was Assyria. And they
Yeah.
say that because they say when Assyria conquered Kush, finally,
Hmm.
eventually, that it gained the biggest landmass of any empire up until that time. Now, you're telling me that, shout out to Robin Walker, that's not true.
Definitely. Mm. Man, look. So the
Wow.
thing is, Western academia, what they want to see is like remnants, right? They want to see statues. They want to see like the same exact things of Kush in the Western Desert, in Syria, in Lebanon, in Israel. But if you really think about it, why would they? Ju- if I conquer a country, that country is mine. I don't have to build anything in that country. I just have to show that, hey, I'm mightier than you guys, and you guys now belong to my authority, and that's it. I don't necessarily need to build anything. Maybe we can do some trade, but again, you fall under my authority. I'm king. You gotta listen to me now because I have the military might. That's all. You don't need any temples. But again, I get it from a Western standpoint. But um,
I'm
yeah.
gonna surprise you, and I'm gonna say,
Mm.
actually, excuse me, actually, they found archaeological evidence. Now, I agree with you. They haven't
Okay.
found temples. They haven't found
Mm.
temples. No, but they found the same things that
Mm-hmm.
in other contexts would, like, if they find a Roman coin, okay, somewhere, um, if they find ample amounts of Roman coins, Roman statues, Roman heads, Roman
Mm-hmm.
style heads, that's enough typically for them to say, yeah, Romans settled here, Romans conquered as far as here, typically. Okay,
Yeah.
now they found Cushitic slash Phoenicial coins,
Mm.
scarabs, um, heads of what can only be described as Cushites, aka black folk. Okay,
Mm-hmm.
in and dating these artifacts to roughly around the time that the Kushite 25th dynasty was at its peak, and that was around Taharka's period. Okay, shortly after reaching that zenith, okay, fine, Taharka would have to face up against the Assyrians, and the Cold
Mm-hmm.
War between Assyria and Kush came to an end, and Kush lost. Okay, but they found that. They found it all along the coast of North Africa in Morocco. I did a video on this not long ago. Guys, type, I don't know, let's type Kush this time. Type Kush, please help me out, guys. If you listen, type Kush if you've watched that video,
Yeah.
where I go into how far the Kushite Empire actually was. It's part 2. And I talked about how big the empire was. And they found that. But what they do is quite clever. Okay. They don't say that these heads belong to the empire of Kush.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. They say that it belonged to the Phoenicians. Now, either way is checkmate
Mm-hmm.
for the quote unquote Afrocentrists, because the point I made in the video was that you've still not explained why the Phoenicians, okay, should leave heads and heads and busts of and scarabs of Africoid peoples,
Mm-hmm.
crowned, hunting, fishing, whatever, in lands that typically in ancient texts said actually the Kushites owned at that time. Why is
Mm.
it the Phoenicians who are painting? Because you tell us that the Phoenicians were a white people, or sort of white passing people, or Mediterranean people, whatever. Okay, so why are these Mediterranean people, for the most part, not leaving images of themselves, but images of black people all over North Africa around the same time period when Kush is the dominant power in Africa? Why? Why is it the Phoenicians doing that? So I'm just saying that to say that's the shell game they play. If you get what I mean by shell game, we know the Phoenicians were a great seafaring nation,
Mm-hmm.
but it just doesn't make sense as to why they don't look to Kush.
I think okay. I want to be correct, I would say,
Mm,
because I don't. look, I believe in conspiracies. Don't get me wrong, because like
Mm,
most of the time conspiracies have been proven to be real, right?
mm, mm,
Um, I would say maybe there's a conspiracy that they just don't want to give Kush lots of credit because it's obviously inner African. Because if you really think about it, it shouldn't be so mysterious. If Kush conquered Egypt and conquered Syria, parts of Syria and parts of Israel and Lebanon, which basically is the Phoenician area, right?
mm.
The Phoenicians fell under the authority of the Kushites. So I can imagine the king telling them to do expeditions under his name, right? So no matter how you want to look at it, it's still Kush, if you want to call it Kusho Phoenician Cushitic, or whatever. It still falls under the authority of the kings of Kush. That's all.
Definitely. Definitely. And you're right. There was, in the very least, we can say around this time period, the Israelites, the Hebrew state, were paying some form of tribute. They had decided to ally themselves, at least willingly, with the
Hmm.
Cushites. That's in the
Hmm.
very least. We have it's in the scriptures. The scriptures,
Yeah.
the Hebrew God denounces Israel for doing that. Yahweh denounces them for forming alliance with the pagan nation in the form of the Ethiopians.
Mm.
But so we have evidence of that. And typically when these kind of relationships are examined within other contexts, they have no qualms about saying, well, this was obviously um a vassal type of relationship. The Israelites were vassals of
Exactly.
Kush. Maybe more willing vassals, but vassals
Hmm.
nonetheless.
Exactly.
So I agree with you. Yes, they did conquer as far as Israel. Um, and they did conquer as far as, well, again, they're a constant. I think I've got it set up, but I don't even need to. I don't need to prove anything. But I've
Mm.
got images of constantly again Phoenician ivories depicting Kushites, you know, scarabs depicting Kushites from Lebanon now, from the Lebanon region. So yes, you're right on that front. But what amazes me is that it's not even a conspiracy, because we have textual evidence corroborating the archaeological evidence that around this time, we have, I believe, I can't remember his name now. We have uh, Roman scholars, yes, hundreds of years later, Greco-Roman scholars talking about the fact that yes, the Kushites were in all of the western seaboard of Africa, and
Hmm.
they were in Spain. We also have accounts from uh historians in the Dark Ages that talk about populations of black people before the Moors came now, before the
Hmm.
Moors of North Africa came, but they were talking about populations, indigenous populations of black people. I think he calls them. I think what's his name? Can't remember his name either. My mind is going. But
No
we
worries,
have
bro.
this we have this Spanish Roman Catholic bishop, Isidore of Seville, who writes clearly
Mm.
that there is a black contingency that's always been there since the longest we can know in southern Spain. And I think he then conjectures that they must have come with the famous Emperor Taharko and just settled and stayed there. They know this. That's my point. We have this. So
Interesting.
this isn't something, again, if you've not seen that video, troll back through my videos, and I think it's about a year old now. But I lay all this out in that video. Now, when I was, shout out to the debunker put me on to a lot of these sources. And if you're listening again, I really really appreciate your work in helping me do this research, debunker. But there are quotes and quotes and quotes and quotes and reams that show, that prove that this empire stretched, was indeed, as Robin Walker says, the biggest empire the world had ever seen up until that time.
Exactly.
We've got no movies about it. We got nothing,
Yeah.
nothing about it.
Yeah. I mean, it's not really it's not a responsibility of Hollywood to tell these stories, right? I
No.
mean, they can make lots of money with it. They can, but at the same time, why would they? It's not their story. And I think even if they can make money with it, they would empower so many people that it will go against their own interest, even if they're getting money. You get it?
Mm.
So yeah, no man, it's our responsibility. It will take us years, maybe. I think Nollywood can play a major role, but they have
Mm.
to step away from the drama and stuff and start doing other type of films. Yeah. So I think Nollywood
Definitely.
Nollywood has the potential, man. It just I don't know.
So you watch Nollywood then? You how
Okay, watch it is like I've seen snippets. I've seen
yeah.
snippets, obviously, but
I mean,
not
Nollywood's
not.
come a long way.
Yeah.
It's come a long
Mm.
way. Netflix Nollywood is actually is top tier.
Yeah, okay. I've seen one episode of Netflix Nollywood, but not yeah, nothing else actually. I think
Mm.
again, I've seen snippets. I know they make movies, and I know like the name Nollywood implies they're good in making movies, but it's just one type of movie, and they need to step
Yeah,
away from that and you know diversify.
definitely,
Yeah,
definitely. Um,
bro. Let me
I
show you something
please do
um,
go
before I forget. Uh, Let me see if I can share my screen.
on.
hmm Um, okay, no, volledig scherm. Yeah, let me do it like this. Okay, cool. Scherm 2.
Okay, I can see
Mm-hmm.
it.
Yeah.
Okay,
Okay.
happy for me to add to stage.
Sorry, what?
Add to stage, yeah.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Okay. Let me show you. This is Lady Takushet. She's in this statue is in Greece, in Athens.
Wow.
And wait, there
Well, I've
is
seen this. Yep, I've seen this.
more. This is more. There's the other one. Yeah. Same statue, different
Mm,
angle.
mm,
Angle. So yeah. Okay. They say she's affiliated with the Kushites because her name is Takushet, right?
mm,
But her father is look. Maybe she's mixed, but even then, if she's mixed between two African peoples. But there's no indication of her being mixed. There's no indication of her marrying into the political family of Kush. Uh, and yet she looks like a Kushite to me. As if she belongs to the state of Kush.
mm,
But I mean, we should. She falls still within the same phenotypic range as other Africans,
mm.
right? Do you agree or do you disagree?
Most certainly.
Yeah. So she was because sources differ, but she was either a contemporary of Taharka or a contemporary of Bianchi. So yeah,
I think the theory I've heard is that she was a Kushite bride married off to the Libyans as some kind of a political alliance.
a Kushite
But
bride.
yeah, like a sort of a
Okay.
not a dowry, but just a political union at the time. But I have to agree with you. I don't a lot of what they say is conjecture, and it's conjecture that often downplays the reach of, black civilizations and black history.
Yeah, and even that conjecture doesn't make sense because her father is the great chief of Ma. Again, which is in modern terms we would say she is of Amazigh lineage to her father.
Mm,
And again, her father isn't married to any uh, people of the Kushite state. Neither was she. It's really conjecture.
mm,
And yet
mm,
you see different peoples from different states. And even if they say, yeah, she looks so-called Negroid because her family established itself in Lower Egypt.
mm.
If they admit that doesn't that mean that Lower Egypt was Negroid?
Yes,
Do you
exactly.
know? Do you know what I mean? Okay,
Mm.
so
And if you go further, if
Mhm.
she actually wasn't any of those things, and she was just a Libyan,
Mhm.
um, that was particularly black skinned, and the people at the time decided to name her. There's no even. Do you know what? Let's stop. Let's hold up.
Mm.
There's no proof other than the conjecture that's made, and which isn't proof. There's no proof that um she had anything to do with Kush. Actually, you
Mhm.
could name somebody. Um, you could name someone. I don't know. John Black. Does that mean
Yeah.
John Black was a black man? Do you know what I'm trying to say? It's like
Yeah. 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 Yeah.
this is the
Yeah.
thing.
Uh-huh.
I think they've got us so, and I say that because I don't know why it took me so long, but thank goodness the penny finally dropped. I've come to the understanding that the ancient Libyans too were a black people, were a black
Mhm.
skinned people.
Mhm.
Different, maybe phenotype slightly to the Kushites down below.
Mhm.
Again, more kind of
True.
aquiline features, but you still get them there in North Africa today. There again, the hokey doke is, oh, these are recent descendants of slaves brought by the
Yeah.
Muslims. No, that's a lie. Look up, research the Haritin properly. The Haritin have been in that region. They were pushed down by the wicked invaders. They were put into subjugation by the newcomers. They were never in antiquity slaves. They were the original inhabitants of that land. Research again and again has proven that. So and a lot of those people would have been amongst people who we would have called Libyans
Mhm.
when we look at these things. So I could present something on the screen, but whatever, people will have to look into it themselves. But I now believe the Libyans too were black skinned people. That we have textual evidence to back up. We have archaeological evidence to
Exactly.
back up.
Exactly.
So this
Like
woman could have just been a Libyan and with the name for whatever
she was. Yeah, she
frame.
was.
Right. That's what you're saying exactly.
Yeah, she was. Yeah, I mean, look, great example that you just used, like the modern Haratin, right? I would even say like because some people would argue, yeah, but the Haratin are um, basically descendants of West African slaves. I would say,
Mm,
okay, fine, fine, sure, okay, whatever. What about the Shule, for example, in Morocco? I know we are going to the far northwest of the continent right now, but the Shule and Amazigh people also have still a black phenotype. Not everybody, because everybody else has been mixed, but there are people still with the original phenotype.
mm,
And I can tell you that Legu Takushet is a true representative of them and them of her, those that are not mixed or that
mm.
have a very, I would say, inner African phenotype.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
We'll get out to this again because there are more questions I want to ask you, but it's
sure.
getting late over here in the United Kingdom. I believe you're in the same hemisphere as me, and I got
Yeah,
lots to work on tomorrow. One chief of which is a new video dropping hopefully later this week.
nice.
I'm only gonna tease. Should I tease it? No, I'll say nothing. People will find out. People will find out
Okay.
later this week. So lots of work for me, and I suspect lots of work for you as well. Bro, can I ask you
Yeah.
to come back at some point?
Sure thing, man. Sure
Okay,
thing.
maybe
I would love to.
maybe I'll have you as part of a panel with some other guys. But go on.
Yeah, that would be cool. That would be very cool, man. Very cool. I think we can learn lots of things from each other because, again, we delve into deep history, and I think it's beneficial when some of us become experts in certain areas of history. Because if you keep just delving into general history and become a generalist, you will miss certain details. So
Mm,
we need generalists and we also need experts. And to
mm.
be a part of a panel, yeah, that would be amazing.
Brilliant, brilliant. So
Yeah.
you got it here first, guys. Coming to Africa will be back. Will return, just like my man James Bond. He will return. So we'll
Yeah.
be having him back. Chat, it's been wonderful. Thank you for making this lively. If you join us late, too bad, but you can watch this back. We had There were some reveals earlier on. So yeah, make sure to watch this video. Give it a like, please, guys. It's been amazing.
Bro, if
Thank you again.
if I can add a small snippet,
Oh, by
I
the way,
would
also make sure you
yeah,
put in the comments after this, Coming to Africa, the link
sure.
to your thing. Go on.
Sure. Yeah, so I wanted to say, like, if you want to understand the kingdom of Kush from an ethnic and linguistic perspective, yeah, check out the educational package. You will learn lots of things that you won't commonly see in, I would say, National Geographic, like the mainstream things. And also, you will get a more cohesive, concise picture of who the people truly were. Yeah, that's it.
Thank you. You put that link in the comments, and I will pin it
Sure thing.
so that people can see it. It's doing great work Coming to Africa. Guys, family, you already know what it is. From Kush to Compton, it's been your boy Trill Black with Coming to Africa. Till the next one, peace.
Cheers.
End stream.